Alright, in this video I want to go over the questions that the jury asked Dr. Dorothy Lewis in Letecia Stauch's murder trial. So as many of you know that were watching the trial, I guess the judge forgot to unmute the microphone, so we did not hear the jury's questions to Dr. Dorothy Lewis. And Dr. Dorothy Lewis, she is the one that deemed Letecia Stauch, not incompetent, insane. So let's go over the questions, and I do want to give credit to News 5 KOAA. They're the ones that I'm reading the questions from. So one of the questions, what if any significance does the defendant given enemas in her relationship with Gannon? And Dr. Dorothy Lewis says, if true, it's sodomy, repeated, unnecessary, unpleasant, and humiliating. It's common to SA, experienced by those who develop dissociative disorders. It's the thought that they begin to have because it's so painful and humiliating. If indeed it happened to Letecia, it's common for a patient to repeat the behavior as an adult. Next question. You said the number of dissociative identity cases increased after you opened the clinic at Bellevue. Did the number drop after the clinic was closed? Answer, it's not been studied, but I'd say yes. If yes, why was the department on the existence of the clinic? Answer, it's not the diagnosis that is dependent on the phenomenon. It's that the recognition diminishes. It's common for me to get calls from physicians who are familiar with it about how to diagnose and treat. There are not many physicians competent to make a diagnosis. Next question. What is your specific training to determine if a patient is malingering? Answer. Having read the study, it's my understanding there is no good definition or standard for malingering as opposed to other disturbances, and is commonly used in courts. You'll find the diagnosis is made more commonly in forensic cases than in others, but it's not a well-defined phenomenon, and you have to be a little skeptical when someone suspects someone of malingering, especially when there's a penalty involved. The person is more likely to be accused of malingering. It's not a well-defined phenomenon. Next question, did you do any tests to determine if malingering is present? Dr. Dorothy Lewis answered yes. She did not go into any details, did not elaborate. Her simple answer was yes. Next question, you said people with dissociative symptoms are suggestible. Then why describe her behaviors in front of her? Answer, it's an art in part to be able to inquire about symptoms or signs without suggesting them, but try to never go by what someone said. We must have data that antedates whatever we said. That's why we look at things like styles of penmanship, behaviors, and behaviors noted by others. Next question. If an MRI and EEG are not completed, how did you render your decision? What made it final? Answer, in my mind, the decision is still pending. I'd like to consult my neurologic colleagues and get more testing involved because it's an open question. There is a neurologic phenomenon that looks like this. Existence of psychosis is evidence, and I think you saw it. You're not going to see a better example here, that she suffers from a psychotic disorder, and there can be little question. Whether did the explanation to personalities and violent repetitive acts can also be explained by other disorders. However, psychosis, there is no question that this is and was psychotic. Next question. Did you have additional evidence that was corroborated through time? Answer, because I was not permitted or able to interview these people myself, I have you question some responses I got. There were people who reported to the changes that seemed reasonable, but if I haven't seen it myself and it hasn't been well documented, in this case, I had to rely on what other people said. What was very interesting was finding that she called herself Maria at an early age, and that her behavior was a core aspect of how she behaved. And these were all the questions that were asked by the jury that we were unfortunately unable to hear because it was muted. But these notes were compiled by Court TV.